Hey, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
Bob, we've got some great guests lined up for this show. I'm going to talk with a couple who 5 years ago said, while they were in their 20s and with kids 3 years old and 6 years old, I've had enough of this corporate world. Another group of young people that hit the road. They've got a great story.
That's fantastic. I've got interviewer Jim Turntine, who has developed the RV Self Park, a totally automated, totally computerized overnight accommodation that is about to be franchised.
Well, interesting. Two stories about new RVers. One, brand new RVers, and number two, a new way to RV. It's all coming up right here on
the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everybody. And welcome back to the news segment of the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro. I'm here with Bob Zagami. And Bob, there is so much to talk about, but let's talk first about some KOA news. And we're going to kind of give you a little bit of different newscast this time. We're going to give you a lot of stories, but short versions of it. So Terramore, close to both of us, up in Maine, a great place. We've been there before. It was Terramore. Talk about what Terramore is.
The first of a new series of projects for KOA. It's a glamping campground, if you will. Just note the cars inside, park outside, bring your stuff to your glamping tent. They've been sold out for the whole year. It's right up near Acadia National Park, and it's so good that they became a finalist in a design award contest for their engineering, their concept, the whole thing about it. And then that came right on the heels, and both these stories and all our stories come from rvbusiness.com. KOA is projecting 53 million households that are expected to go camping in 21.
With 19 million people next week. Well, depending upon when you watch this, over 4th of July weekend. That Terramore story is very interesting because it's owned by KOA, operated by KOA, no RVs allowed.
Right. It is strictly an alternative camping adventure.
Yep. Last week we had another story about another pollsters that said, 54 million. KOA says 53, but either way, over 50 million people hitting the roads this summer in an RV. And you know what? Speaking of RV, there are RV enthusiasts that are on the road, and there's rolling on TV viewers that are on the road. And we know both of those people, both of those shows, both of those organizations talk about their relationship, I guess.
Jose Moniz, the producer of the show, Michelle Fontaine, the marketing communications director, have linked up with RV Enthusiast magazine, which is our good friends Chris Doherty, Bob Livingston, Jim Mack, a bunch of veteran reporters. And it's a magazine designed for consumers with a technical bent, because a lot of the publications don't cover the simple things that people can do to fix their RVs. There's going to be issues, and with the number of RVs being sold, the number of people on the road, the number of people in campgrounds, the more that consumers can learn about easy fixes, the less frustration they're going to have with their camping experience.
And you said it best, the number of new campers last year and this year that are now going to start running into, minor maintenance issues that sometime can be solved, not with a trip to the dealership, but, look on YouTube, see what one of the editions of the show said, and you know what? They can solve their problem that way. And if they can't solve them that way, camper techs, talk about that.
This is an interesting concept that a company has come up with, and they're going to the campgrounds with a kind of a prepackaged service group, separate. It'll be separate from the campground, but operating within the campground, where they will provide technicians on the campground or on call for people who are in the campground and want to have service done on site. They hope to have a nationwide program. It's going to be very interesting to see how it develops, because in the past, a lot of campgrounds do not offer any kind of service, preferring to send the people back to their dealers. But it's an income revenue stream in some aspects. It could add to their bottom line.
And it will take away some headaches from the campers because normally the service departments of dealerships are closed on weekends. And when do the people camp? On weekends. So maybe this will make Monday mornings a little less hectic at the service department of our nearby RV
Right.
dealer. And speaking of putting RVs together, our friends at Lippert, one of the largest manufacturers of its kind in the entire world, have over 11,000 employees. They're looking for a couple hundred more throughout Elkhart County and that whole area. And you know what? Open houses for jobs all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how many buildings they've got in that Elkhart Goshen area, but I do know it's a lot because you see them on every corner. And they're like everybody else are short of help. So they need 200 right now. They could fill 200 positions. I'm sure they'll be doing some job fairs and some open houses, but it's again, they sell the components that RV manufacturers put into their rigs and their trailers, the doors, the windows, the leveling systems, you name it, the ladders. They have a lot of components in every RV. So the more RVs we sell, simple math, the more components we need to put in them.
Yep. And you and I have been in their factories, and that is labor intensive work when they're putting those. Remember, we were watching them put the toy hauler garage doors together. And you know what? That's not one or two people. That's several people to do that one manufacturing job. Interesting. Now, if they didn't need the work immediately, like yesterday, the workers yesterday, they could wait a few weeks and talk to our friend Kurt Hemmler at RVTI with that program that we discussed last week with talking to some correctional facilities, training people there. You got to get people in Elkhart. I mean, they're just not enough.
Yep. And speaking of RVTI, they did announce this week that they are back to live in-person classes at their Elkhart headquarters. Yep.
There you go. So that's a wrap on the RV news of the week. We've got a great show coming up.
Time out. You forgot one. After you get through with this stuff and your rig is running nicely, you really need a break to take a nice campground, something different. So for all the parrot heads out there,
Margaritaville.
Jimmy Buffett is soon to open his second Camp Margaritaville RV resort in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
And like I said, folks, that's a wrap on the news section. You know what? We could be wasting away again in Margaritaville right now instead of doing this show. So let's sign off and let's go have a margarita.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and this is the Camper Report Show.
Have a great day, everybody. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this.
Mike here from RV Blogger. Don't waste hundreds of dollars on an external GPS for your RV. All you need to do is download the RV Life app right onto your phone. This app is so cool. It has RV GPS built right into it. So you can load all the specific measurements and weights for your RV. It'll give you directions safe for your RV to follow. And by the way, if you have RV Trip Wizard, directions for your trips upload into this GPS automatically.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Camper Report Show, and I'm delighted to have Jim Turntine with me today. And Jim is the creator of something very unique in the RV and camping industry called the RV Self Park. Jim, tell us a little bit about your dream, and it's coming to fruition very nicely.
Yeah, we opened the park. I call it soft open last January, and that allowed us to start testing some of the hardware as we wrote the software to talk to all the hardware. Had the park actually open in July last year, right in the middle of the COVID crisis, and then from July. And when I say opened in July, we hard opened. That's when I put the billboards up. That's when we started to run a few ads and things like that. But getting the billboards up really is kind of when the business started going last July. And then it took us the rest of 2020 with the traffic patterns that we had to test out the hardware and complete the software for the reservation program and everything that we do kind of on the back end. So
Yeah.
been open now for real for maybe 9-10 months, I guess you could say.
Okay.
12,
So
maybe 11.
I know you are an RVer, so that was and a very successful businessman. But talk about that. What germinated the seed to develop an automated self-park? It's not a campground, distinguished differently than a campground. But where'd you get the idea as you were traveling around in your motorhome to build this concept?
Just that this is what I wanted. This is the type of facility that I thought needed to be out there, 10, 12 years ago. I've been an RVer now for 15, 16 years, and been all over the country. And from previous conversations, I don't plan ahead. I'm spontaneous. I have dogs, or I did have dogs. I don't have any right now, but we don't like to board our dogs. And so we like to be able to pick it. That's the reason we have an RV. We want to be able, when we find ourselves with the time, my wife and I want to be able to go where we want to go when we want to do it. But on the other hand, we don't plan ahead and we don't book campsites, 6 months in advance. We're just not that kind of, we're not that organized for, or want to be. So that's where the need I felt the need because of my own wishes of what was out there. And as it turns out, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of other RVers now, and there's a lot of us that feel that way.
Well, there are, and what you're offering is an affordable overnight accommodation for somebody who's traveling. Not typically somebody's going to be there for a week at a time. So talk a little bit about the park and what makes it unique.
Well, I mean, what makes it unique is there's nobody there. We don't have an office. We don't have a gate. That was another kind of milestone decision. Everything is automated. Folks come to our website, which is rvselfpark.com, and they book a site. They choose what time of the day they want to check in and how long they want to stay. They can choose anything from 12 hours currently. It's about to be changed to 14. I'll say that. But it'll be from 14 hours to 28 days. They can pick whatever time period they want. There's a bit of a discount the longer you stay, which most people stay for a day. That's what 90% of our folks do. They book and pay for that site on our, through our app, I guess you would call it. And once they pay for it, it's theirs. They know what they pick their site now. They choose site 12 or site 6 or whichever site they wanted. As soon as they pay us, they get a receipt. Generally, it's PayPal or a credit card. They can do either one. And they'll get a receipt, and they'll also get an email from us with access codes for Wi-Fi, for the trash bin, and a link to all of our monitoring cameras in the park. We have over 24 cameras. And then when they show up, they drive straight to their site. When they pull in their site, all the services, power comes on, water comes on, and access to sewer is allowed at that time when the power comes on. There's a sewer door that we've designed and patented that is engaged. It has like a doorbell button. You press the button, you can open the sewer door and put your sewer hose in. Then when they leave when they want to leave, up till the time that they paid for. If they stay too long, the services will shut off at the end of the time that they booked. But most people, I don't think it's ever happened. Most people leave some point before, or they'll go back to their email. On their email that we send them, there's a link that they can edit their stay. If they want to extend it and add on time, they can pay a few more dollars. Or if they decide that they want to come on a different time altogether before they get there, they can edit it. So we provide a link where they can change all that themselves. So basically, if they don't want to talk to us and don't need to talk to us, they don't. And we've had hundreds and hundreds now come and go at will without any interaction whatsoever.
Well, and the amazing thing is that it's all automated. It's all computerized. It's all automated. And you had a building background, a construction background. You built your own town. You've got other businesses. So it was kind of a mix of all the disciplines that you brought to the equation. Probably didn't work, 100% the first time out, but you've got a whole year under your belt now. And where do you go from here?
Well, we're working to franchise the concept, as I mentioned in previous conversations. We've had a lot of interest, and we've talked to some big companies and developers, and we've talked to a lot of individuals, and we're working hard right now, really, to get the franchise program ready to release. We're hoping we're only a few weeks away and we can announce and start that process. I would like to build a few more parks myself, but I've kind of focused and dedicated all of my time and efforts right now on preparing the franchise program, getting that package ready to go. So we're close.
I think that's critical from a standpoint of where our industry is today, because there is nothing like this. And the industry is pressured with, we don't have enough campgrounds, we don't have enough sites. We're selling 500,000 RVs a year. Where are all these people go? And there's a lot of people like you and I, when I had motorhomes, I'm in that category that are tourists. They're not necessarily camping for a whole week. They like to go out and they want to have that spontaneity. And most people feel that it's not there anymore. But, you know, we could liken this back to the development of Holiday Inns when we first got the interstate highway system, put them on every road, every ramp, or every town had one. And you'd want to do that quickly and efficiently. And it would be very difficult for somebody to try to duplicate what you put into it technology-wise.
Yeah, it is. It's been expensive and it's been trial and error. And a lot of the parts and pieces failed. And you know, during COVID, that slowed us down a little bit too. But we're there now. The parts that we've had, in particular, since January of this year. Now we were automated all throughout last year, but there were pieces and parts of the process that we were monitoring very closely, or we would do physically manually just to make sure that things were working. But as of January this year, we finished the package of sensors, the combination of sensors and the redundancies that we have in the sensors that had they're all computerized and they all work together, so that we know for sure when that site is empty. As I've said before, knowing when they were there was kind of the easy part. Turning things on was easy. The hardest part was knowing for sure when folks were gone so that we could put that site back in inventory. It's a small park, 20 sites. So it's like a small restaurant. You got to turn those tables. You got to make sure they're available for the next person. And so really that's critical part of the business is knowing for sure when that site is empty so you can make it available for the next guest to rent that site.
You know what we haven't said? We haven't told anybody where you are or where you built it.
Well, we're in West Sullivan, Missouri, the 223.4 mile marker exactly, which is one mile from the Sullivan, Missouri exit. We're in the town of West Sullivan. I-44 runs from St. Louis to Joplin, Oklahoma City, and we're about an hour southwest of St. Louis on I-44. Believe it or not, we've had some folks book, and I'm not quite sure how they did it, but people thought we were in Utah the other day, and people thought we were in Texas. Not sure how they did it, but they booked the site and figured out, wait a minute, now we thought you were, actually one thought we was in Oklahoma City the other day. I'm not quite sure, but we're in West Sullivan, Missouri on I-44.
That's not a situation that's corrected quickly if you're sitting down there in Texas or Utah.
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy for us. We've got a cancel deal, and we just press that button and it sends them their money back, and hopefully they find a site somewhere else. But again, I'm telling you, I'm not quite sure how that happened. But we've had several people in the last few weeks that somehow got confused and booked the site and didn't know we were in Missouri. Not quite sure how. But
so if you look at it from your experience this past year, knowing that there wasn't anything like it, and you built it, and you always want to know that when you build it, they will come, and they have come. What has been the response from the RVers themselves? I'm sure some probably misinterpreted, some it's better than they expected. What's the consumer feedback on it?
The feedback I get, I don't mean this to sound arrogant or anything, but literally 99% of the folks that I talked to, and I couldn't talk to a lot of them last year during COVID, nobody wanted to talk to anybody, but people, if I'm up there doing something like, watering the grass or whatever, they want to talk to me and I'll talk to them. And most of them, if not all, to a man or a woman, will say, we need to hunt. We need these all over the country. We hope you're great success. We love it. This is perfect. This is what we're looking for. We'll be back. Bob, we're averaging right now a little over 21% return guests. So that means 21% of all the invoices that we've written have already been somebody that's been back twice. So, folks find us, and once they find us, and this is exactly what we need. It's easy. We don't have to check in. We book. We know we're going to have our site. We pick the one we want. We drive right to it. We don't, boom. They just love it. I mean, they really do, and they're very complimentary. They make me think. They give me a big head, is what I say, because you just stand there and they're bragging on you, and it's a little embarrassing, but it's nice. I'm not making it up. Almost every single person. I've only had a couple the entire time that it wasn't their cup of tea. It wasn't what they thought it was going to. And okay, sorry, this is, it's a parking facility for RVs. We're not a campground. That's what we tell folks.
Yeah. Well, that is an amazing number, though, when you think that, number one, they are travelers, so they're going one way, maybe they hit you on the way back, or they just like it so much they plan their trip so they can do that, because again, it's economical, it's approachable, it's automatic. So there's a lot of things that RVers are going to like about that. One thing we talk about a lot in the industry is the number of first-time buyers that are coming into it that have never owned an RV, have never been in a campground. What unique issues have come up with that category, that demographic that we're seeing in the industry today?
I don't think, maybe unique isn't the right word. I have encountered a couple of guests. I've encountered lots of guests that it was their first time. Literally, I think Saturday, two of the folks that were there Saturday night, brand new RVs on their way home from Arizona or on their way to wherever I forget where they were going. One was going to Ohio and one was going to New York. They both had brand new RVs. They didn't have any problems. They figured everything out. They were happy as could be, and again, complimentary, and loved the whole concept. And although they didn't know that this was that rare, they just might have thought these are everywhere, but they're not. The only I think I ran into one couple who were having trouble with, literally had trouble with their tank. They couldn't get their tanks to drain. And the entire time that we've had, I think I said we're at 1,440 invoices as of today that we've written since last July. So that is folks that stayed anywhere from the 12 hours to 28 days. We've had them all in between.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all of those, I've seen some really unfortunate things. People that don't know how to drive. People that struggle to, even though all of our sites are pulled through and it's all one way, and it's the most stress-free parking experience I think humanly possible to build. I've seen some brand new folks pull in that still struggled. And so I actually widened some roads. I widened some curves. And again, every site in my park, I drove my 42-foot RV with a tow dolly and a 4-door full-size truck through. I navigated every single site, and I thought, okay, we're good. But no, I've seen a few of the new drivers come in that weren't good. So I've widened some curves and some arches and roads and done some things to make it even more brainless, if that's the right word, or stress-free for a new driver.
Yeah.
We had a little dog leg curb on the back row. I straightened that out. I just wanted to make it, I saw people struggle, and so I don't want them to struggle. I want this to be as stress-free. Everything we've done about this park is to make it as stress-free as possible. And so any review that I get, I read our reviews, and if somebody says, oh, it was hard to get into this site, or it was hard to make that turn, well, it isn't now, because we've already made some adjustments. And we're going to use that footprint for all the franchise, future franchise locations. So it'll just get better and better.
Well, all right, Jim, we were talking to Jim Turntine, RV Self Park. And Jim, we'll put the information, the websites, and some graphics along with this, but it's an exciting concept. I'm tremendously proud of what you've done as far as the industry. It's got tremendous upside potential. And with a year under your belt, I think it's going to be an exciting 2021 for you. And we wish you luck with the franchise operations.
Well, thank you, Bob, for your support and kind words. And we're working really hard, myself and some other members of my family on our team, to get the franchise package done. And hopefully I can announce that in the next few weeks that we'll have that ready to go.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us today on the Camper Report Show, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm Jesse from Outsiders Calling, and I love adventurous family travel with my wife Jenny and our son Tucker.
For over 3 years, we've RV'd across the US and Mexico, and it's tough to find places that meet all our needs.
Now we plan our trips with the RV Trip Wizard, pull it up in the RV Life app, select it, and go.
It helps us discover amazing new places to grow together as a family.
RV Trip Wizard with the RV Life app is an awesome trip planning combination.
You can get both for one low annual price. Check out rvlife.com to learn more.
And welcome back to the Camp Report Show. My name is John DePietro. And I've said all along, it's starting to sound like a broken record, that you meet the most interesting people when you're RVing. And tonight's guest is certainly no exception at all. And let's bring her in right now. Without further ado, let's bring in Jessica Meinhoffer, who is one half of the exploringthelocallife.com empire. Jessica, welcome to the Camper Report Show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
The thing that people want to know all the time, especially when people have gone full-time, like you went from full-time from 2015 to 2020, and you're young, you're very damn young. When you compare what RVers used to be 10 years ago, people didn't hit an RV until they hit retirement age. But you and your husband, Robert, kind of said, we don't want to live in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house. Tell us a little bit about your background and tell us how you finally said, let's rock.
Sure. Well, we were tent campers for a long time. And then we stopped that because at some point I just couldn't sleep on the floor anymore. And we started kind of looking at RVs, but we were like, well, I don't know if we can have an RV in a house. And, we weren't sure what we were doing. We thought maybe, we could save up and buy one, but we didn't really have like a plan. We didn't really know. But in our research for RVs and RVing, we saw all these people that were RVing full time. And we were like, that's crazy and wonderful. Yep. And so we were just watching YouTube and just getting, really excited about the idea of full-time RVing. And we had this grand plan of doing it in a year or two, paying everything off, buying it all in cash. And then this job opportunity came up for Robert that was going to allow him to work 4 days and then be off for 4 days. And suddenly it just became like a reality. We said yes to the job and we said yes to buying an RV, never sleeping in one, and just totally in 1 month going from in a house to in an RV in a campground, like in Georgia.
And that was not just a leap of faith, that was a giant leap of faith.
Yeah.
What did your family consist of at the time, as far as children and dogs, and cats and parakeets?
Sure. Yeah, it was my husband and I, Robert and I, our 2 children that were like 3 and 6 at the time. And we had a German Shepherd and 2 cats. Okay. And we chose a 26-foot travel trailer with 1 slide.
1 slide. Okay. And everybody has made it through. Did the pets come with you?
They did come with us. Yeah.
They came with us. Okay, great. Super. So taking that leap and telling the family, did you live near the family? Did you have, a nuclear family nearby that made their opinion known about your decision?
Yes. Our parents, of course, thought that we were crazy.
Yep.
And my parents especially were very against it. They did not support it at all. They thought it was insane. They were like, yeah, we can see wanting to do that maybe part-time, although they didn't get the RV thing anyway. Like, why be in an RV when you can just go in a hotel if you're going to be vacationing? Like, they just were not into any of that. So yeah, they didn't support it. And Robert's parents really didn't either. But our friends, of course, thought it was really cool because they're very nice people.
Yeah. So on the trip, how many states, how far did you go? How far did you get? Or as they say down south, how far did you get?
get. How far did we get?
Did you have one
we
of those
went all
maps with the
yeah, we did.
stickers?
Yes, but I don't have it in front of me. So I'm like, we started out in Florida and we went all the way up the East Coast, all the way up to Maine and back.
Wait a minute. You went to New England and didn't call me? I would have bought you a cup of coffee.
I didn't know you then.
Or a beer. I would have bought you a beer in Boston.
Didn't know. Okay. So yeah, we did that, and then we went all the southern states through Texas, up through Utah and Colorado, and then like Kansas and all those. So kind of like Midwest. We never made it all the way up to the West Coast, or all the way to like Alaska or Canada or anything like that, or Mexico, none of that stuff. But
so when you were traveling, did you stay for weeks at a time at one destination, or were you guys bouncing much freer than that?
We didn't bounce around too much. The only big like fast trip we did, in 2 weeks we went from Georgia to Colorado and back. And that's when we kind of like bounced around just trying to get there. But for the most part, we would stay at least 2 weeks in one place.
Okay.
That was our.
Homeschooling used to be the word, but now road schooling is the word. And, you were certainly pioneers because, so many people your age hit the road during the COVID thing because they didn't have to have, kids in school, and you didn't have to be at a desk for work. But how did you handle the road schooling thing with the kids? How old were they when you were doing this?
When we started out, they were only 3 and 6. And now they're 9 and 12.
Okay.
So our youngest, obviously, she wasn't even in school or anything like that. But our 6-year-old he was actually enrolled in a private umbrella school that allowed us to homeschool, which is unique. So he had never actually been to school. So it wasn't really that hard of a leap to really go from homeschooling in a house to all of a sudden road schooling. If anything, it made it a lot easier to learn because we were seeing all these new places. And of course, anytime, even for adults, when you go somewhere new, you get so excited. You want to know everything there is about the place. You want to go to like historic sites. You want to get out into nature. There's museums. So it made the learning process a lot easier. And because it was hands-on, it wasn't boring. We had never, and we still have not done really what would be like traditional schooling, because it just doesn't work for us. Anytime we've tried, it's just ended up being a really upsetting power struggle, and it's just not a good relationship for us with the kids, and the kids end up not learning anything because they're just sitting there like
that kind of thing.
So we just
was that hereditary? Was that hereditary? That
maybe. I was in school though. I went to public school, and so did my husband. So we didn't have a choice.
Didn't have the choice on that. See, the big question that most people, that so many of our viewers have when they see an interview like yours is, how did you get along financially? And I know you did a lot of things with an Amazon account, an associate account, and a few other things. But tell us how you made ends meet. Were able to do that?
Sure. I had a part-time job that I had actually had, before my son was even born. And I worked on site for a few years. And then when I had my second child, I took it home, and I was working from home with 2 little kids. And when we started RVing, I just literally called them. I was like, hey, so it's still kind of working from home, just my home will be different places. They were like, we don't care. You get your work done. We're good. So I did that. And then my husband was an aircraft dispatcher for an airline. And he worked full time. So between those, that was plenty of money for us. And then with YouTube and the blog and stuff, that also brought in some additional revenue. That's not to say though that we were rolling in it. We definitely kept things frugal and did a lot of free stuff.
Okay.
Because it can get expensive.
What would you say to other couples like yourselves that, you're probably in the 20s at the time when you kind of got that wanderlust, and today it's even easier because technology is so much more advanced than it was then. What would you say to that couple with young kids about, that are thinking of it. Do it, don't do it. Would you do it over again? Tell us that, Jessica.
Sure. Yeah, we would definitely do it all over again. It was crazy. It was a really great way for us to learn who we were. Like, you can't be in a box with another human and not like you just have to work it out, and you find out a lot of things about yourself, not just the other person, but you're like, ooh, I got to fix that. And you really get to know your kids, and the closeness that is there. It's just a really great growing opportunity for everybody. And I think really everybody should try it, even if you do it for like a month, even if you're like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Yes, it was. And now you have all this experience. You either know like, wow, I want to do that again in the future, or like, I never want to step into an RV again. And you've learned a little bit about yourself. And now you also have a lot of great stories to tell, because
there are
that's
stories,
what
huh? There are stories from the road. There are stories from the road. Now tell us the website where a lot of the chronicles that you've experienced during that 5-year period. Tell us where we can find out about it.
Sure. We have exploringthelocallife.com, and that's our blog. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is also Exploring the Local Life. The YouTube channel actually has a lot more about our adventures, more of a diary type thing. The blog is a little bit more how to RV with kind of bullet points, more instructional, I guess.
We should say here that we're not trying to hide the fact that you did undergo some medical issues, which took you off the road for a period of time. When you get that quote unquote under control, is the plan to hit the road again?
Yes, but not for some time. I think we want to do things a little bit differently this time. I'm not sure that we're going to do full time until the kids are grown up, because now they're kind of entering into that teenage phase. And they definitely are interested in hanging out with the same friends over and over again. And while you can make a lot of friends on the road and there's technology, I think they really need right now, they've asked to be with their friends. So we're going to modify how we do things a little bit, but I definitely want to be traveling again. And to me, RVing is just so much fun. So much can go wrong and so much can go right. And to me, I just think it's the best, the community and everything,
and you've got 5 years of memories that you would never have gotten if you drove from home to work, work to home, home to work, work to home, and the kids did school to home and blah, 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 blah. So we want to thank you so much for taking time from your busy day, and let people know that their website is available at exploringthelocallife.com. It's Jessica and Robert. Robert is in another state right now. He's got that opportunity to work an extended time period, then have extended time period off. So, or something like that, right?
Yeah, he's 4 on now and 3 off. So
There
he
you
comes
go.
home every 4. Yeah.
Perfect. And when you work for an airline, you can fly cheaply.
Free.
Exactly. So thank you so much. This is the Camper Report Show. They are exploring the local life.